Life, my dear friends, has a curious way of presenting us with an endless stream of thoughts. Some are fleeting, like whispers on the wind, barely noticed. Others, however, settle in, growing heavier, more insistent, until they become a constant hum, a relentless internal monologue we often call overthinking. It's a common struggle in our modern world, isn't it? This feeling of being trapped in our own minds, replaying conversations, worrying about the future, dissecting every past decision. We've all been there, caught in that endless loop, wishing for a moment of quiet, a breath of stillness. But what if I told you that ancient wisdom, born from traditions that understood the human mind deeply, offers a path to freedom from this mental maze? It's not about stopping thought altogether. That's like asking the ocean to stop its waves. Instead, it's about learning to navigate the currents, to observe the thoughts without getting swept away. Think of it like this: your mind is a vast sky, and thoughts are merely clouds passing through. Do you need to chase every cloud? Do you need to examine its shape, wonder where it's going or why it's there? Or can you simply observe it, acknowledge its presence, and let it drift by? This journey we're about to embark on together is one of gentle understanding, of cultivating a different relationship with our minds. It's about finding the quiet space between the thoughts, the pause where peace resides. We'll explore timeless principles, not as rigid rules, but as guiding lights, illuminated by stories and insights that have resonated with seekers of truth for centuries. You see, the wisdom traditions, whether Buddhist, Christian, or others, all point to a fundamental truth. Much of our suffering stems not from what happens to us, but from how we react to it, how we allow our minds to spin narratives around it. Let us begin by simply acknowledging this, by taking a deep, calming breath and preparing our minds to receive a different kind of understanding. Just as a potter molds clay, so too can we gently reshape our mental habits. Have you ever noticed how often our minds replay events, especially the less pleasant ones? It's as if we believe by reanalyzing every detail, we might somehow change the past or gain perfect control over the future. But the truth is, the past is a done deal, and the future, by its very nature, is uncertain. Much of our overthinking is rooted in this desire for certainty, this craving to control what simply cannot be controlled. We become like a dog chasing its own tail, expending immense energy without ever truly moving forward. One of the foundational Buddhist teachings speaks directly to this: impermanence. Everything is in a constant state of flux, always changing, always moving. Our thoughts, our feelings, our circumstances, they are all transient. When we cling to a particular outcome, a specific idea, or even a past moment, we resist this natural flow. And it's this resistance, this struggle against what is, that fuels our overthinking. Imagine trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips away. Consider the story of a traveler who came to a swift-flowing river. He needed to cross, but the current was strong, and the water seemed intimidating. He stood on the bank, contemplating, calculating every possible risk, imagining all the ways he might fail. Minutes turned into hours, and still he stood there, consumed by his thoughts about the river. Meanwhile, other travelers, seeing the river, simply entered the water, carefully but steadily navigating their way to the other side. They acknowledged the river's power, but didn't let their thoughts about it paralyze them. The first traveler, by overthinking the crossing remained stuck, while those who embraced the impermanent nature of the journey moved forward. This parable reminds us that dwelling on what might happen, or what did happen, keeps us from fully engaging with what is happening. It's about recognizing that thoughts are like the river itself. They flow. We don't have to build a dam against them. We simply learn to step into the current, mindfully, one step at a time. The moment we recognize the impermanence of our thoughts, their power over us begins to diminish. It's a profound shift from being a prisoner of our minds to becoming an observer of them. Often, overthinking arises from a deep-seated need to control. We believe that if we just analyze enough, plan enough, or worry enough, we can somehow steer every outcome to our liking. This is a common human tendency, born from a desire for security and predictability. Yet life, in its very essence, is unpredictable. The more we try to exert absolute control, the more frustrated and anxious we become. It's like trying to hold on to sand. The harder you clench your fist, the more it slips through your fingers. Buddhist teachings offer a gentle yet powerful counterpoint to this, the practice of non-attachment. This doesn't mean we become indifferent or stop caring about things. Rather, it means we learn to release our rigid grip on expectations, outcomes, and even our own thoughts. It's about understanding that while we can influence events, we cannot ultimately control them, just as we cannot control the weather or the changing seasons. The true peace comes not from controlling the external world, but from finding a sense of inner calm regardless of what unfolds. Imagine a skilled sailor. They don't try to stop the wind or calm the waves. Instead, they understand the nature of the sea. They adjust their sails. They navigate with skill and awareness, accepting that they must work with the elements, not against them. Their journey is less about forcing the boat to its destination and more about artfully riding the currents. This is the essence of non-attachment in action. It's not passive resignation, but active wisdom. When we practice non-attachment to our thoughts, we recognize that they are not solid, permanent entities that define us. They are simply mental events arising and passing away. We can observe them, acknowledge them, perhaps even learn from them, but we don't have to identify with them or let them dictate our emotional state. This detachment creates space, space for clarity, space for peace, space for simply being. It's a liberation from the relentless demands of the overthinking mind, allowing us to respond to life with greater presence and less internal turmoil. A significant part of overthinking stems from our tendency to constantly judge and categorize. We label thoughts as good or bad, right or wrong, and then we get caught in the trap of clinging to the good ones and resisting the bad ones. This mental habit creates a constant internal struggle, like trying to push a wave back into the ocean. The harder we resist a thought or feeling, the stronger it seems to become, pulling us deeper into the quagmire of analysis and worry. Buddhist wisdom offers the practice of mindfulness and non-judgmental observation. This isn't about ignoring our thoughts or pretending they don't exist. It's about acknowledging their presence without immediately reacting to them, without attaching a story or a judgment. It's simply seeing them for what they are, transient mental events. Think of yourself as a scientist observing a phenomenon in a laboratory. You wouldn't judge the chemical reaction as bad or good. You would simply observe its properties, its behavior, its unfolding. Consider the story of an old monk and his young novice walking through a village. They came across a beautiful woman struggling to cross a muddy ford. Without hesitation, the old monk picked her up, carried her across, and gently set her down on the other side. They continued their journey in silence. Hours later, the young novice, unable to hold back his thoughts, blurted out, "Master, how could you carry that woman? We are monks. We are not supposed to touch women." The old monk smiled serenely and replied, "My dear novice, I left her at the stream. Are you still carrying her?" This simple tale profoundly illustrates the essence of non-judgmental observation. The young novice carried the event in his mind, judging it, overthinking it, allowing it to disturb his peace. The old monk, however, acted with compassion in the moment and then simply let go. He observed the situation without judgment and moved on. This practice of letting go, of observing thoughts without entanglement, is a powerful antidote to overthinking. It allows our minds to become clear mirrors, reflecting what is, rather than distorting it with our opinions and fears. Overthinking often thrives in the silence of our minds, growing stronger when we isolate ourselves with our worries. We tend to believe that we must solve everything on our own, meticulously dissecting every problem until we find the perfect solution. This can lead to a sense of profound loneliness, as if the burden of our thoughts is ours and ours alone to bear. But ancient wisdom reminds us that we are not islands. Connection and understanding from others can be powerful antidotes to the mental clutter we accumulate. The concept of compassion, or karuna in Buddhism, extends not only to others but also to ourselves. When we overthink, we often engage in harsh self-criticism, judging our perceived failures and magnifying our anxieties. Cultivating self-compassion means offering ourselves the same kindness, understanding, and acceptance we would offer a dear friend who is struggling. It's recognizing that to be human is to be imperfect, to make mistakes, and to experience uncertainty. This gentle acceptance softens the grip of overthinking, allowing us to approach our challenges with greater ease. Consider the metaphor of a tangled fishing net. If you try to untangle it by yourself, pulling and tugging frantically, you might only make the knots tighter. But if you have a patient friend beside you offering a different perspective, helping to gently loosen one knot at a time, the task becomes far less daunting. In the same way, sharing our burdens, even if just with ourselves through compassionate self-talk, can begin to unravel the mental knots of overthinking. This isn't about seeking external validation to solve our problems. Instead, it's about recognizing the inherent interconnectedness of all beings and extending that same understanding to our own internal experience. When we embrace compassion both for ourselves and for the world around us, the rigid boundaries of our anxious thoughts begin to dissolve. We realize that our struggles are part of the universal human experience, and this realization itself can bring immense relief and a sense of belonging, diminishing the isolating power of overthinking. A significant driver of overthinking is our incessant need to replay the past or pre-play the future. We often find ourselves lost in what-if scenarios, imagining every possible negative outcome or reliving past mistakes, convinced that if we just analyze them enough, we can prevent future missteps. This mental time travel pulls us away from the only moment we truly possess, the present. We are physically here, but mentally we are everywhere else. Buddhist wisdom, particularly the emphasis on being present, offers a powerful anchor. This isn't about ignoring planning or learning from experience, but about recognizing that our most potent point of action, our greatest capacity for peace, resides in the here and now. The past is a memory, the future is a projection, but the present moment is where life truly unfolds. It's like trying to watch a beautiful sunset while constantly checking your watch, or replaying the morning's argument in your head. You miss the beauty right in front of you. Consider the story of a young farmer who was struggling with a heavy workload. He constantly worried about finishing everything by sunset, his mind racing through tasks not yet done, regretting moments he felt he had wasted. One day, an old master observed his distress. "My son," the master said, "when you are planting rice, plant rice. When you are weeding, weed. Do not plant rice with your mind on weeding, or weed with your mind on the harvest. Simply be where your feet are." The farmer took this to heart. He began to focus entirely on the task at hand, pouring his full attention into each moment. To his surprise, not only did his work become more efficient, but he also found a deep sense of peace in the rhythm of his labor. This simple counsel reminds us that when we bring our full awareness to the present moment, overthinking often begins to dissolve. The anxieties about what was or what will be lose their power when our attention is fully engaged with what is. It's a deliberate choice to ground ourselves, to feel the breath entering and leaving our bodies, to notice the sounds around us, the sensations of our feet on the ground. This consistent practice of presence is a gentle yet profound way to reclaim our minds from the tyranny of overthinking. One of the most insidious aspects of overthinking is the way it feeds on our desire for perfection. We often believe that if we just think about something long enough, analyze it from every angle, we can arrive at a perfect solution, a flawless plan, or an impeccable. This pursuit of perfection, however, is often a mirage, leading only to paralysis by analysis. The world, in its beautiful complexity, rarely offers perfect answers, only the best possible next steps. Buddhist philosophy encourages us to embrace right effort and right action, not as a path to flawlessness, but as a commitment to mindful engagement. It's about doing our best with the understanding that our best in any given moment is always evolving. It's about taking intentional steps, even small ones, rather than remaining stuck in endless contemplation. Think of a journey. You don't need to see the entire path to take the first step. You just need enough light for the very next footfall. Consider the story of a young artist who wanted to paint the most magnificent masterpiece. He spent years studying techniques, analyzing other great works, and preparing his canvas, meticulously planning every brushstroke in his mind. He worried about every potential flaw, every possible mistake. He imagined his audience's reactions, fearing criticism. As a result, the canvas remained blank, his masterpiece forever confined to his thoughts. Meanwhile, other artists, perhaps less burdened by the quest for absolute perfection, painted, learned from their imperfections, and created many works, each one a step in their artistic journey. This reminds us that action, even imperfect action, is often the antidote to overthinking. It breaks the spell of endless mental deliberation. When we engage in right effort, we give ourselves permission to move forward, understanding that learning and growth happen through doing, not just thinking. It's about transforming our internal anxieties into external constructive energy. By shifting our focus from the impossible pursuit of perfection to the achievable practice of mindful action, we begin to chip away at the very foundation of overthinking, allowing for progress, however small. The voice you selected does not support this language. Please click the upper right corner to switch to another voice. Just as a garden requires ongoing care, so too does our mind require regular cultivation. We've explored various ways to gently release the grip of excessive thought, from embracing impermanence and non-attachment to practicing presence and compassionate action. But perhaps the most profound wisdom lies in the simple yet powerful act of letting go. Letting go isn't about giving up or becoming complacent. Instead, it's about releasing the need to control every outcome, to analyze every detail, to solve every hypothetical problem before it even arises. It's about trusting the natural flow of life and our innate capacity to respond to challenges as they emerge. Think of a child learning to ride a bicycle. At first, they grip the handlebars tightly, rigid with fear of falling. But as they gain confidence, they learn to relax their grip, to balance with ease, to let go of the fear and simply ride. This relaxation, this letting go, paradoxically leads to greater control and freedom. In Buddhist teachings, there's a beautiful metaphor of a raft. You use a raft to cross a river, to get from one shore to the other. But once you've reached the other side, you don't carry the raft on your back. You leave it behind and continue your journey. Our thoughts, our worries, our analytical minds, they are like that raft. They serve a purpose in helping us navigate life. But when we cling to them, when we carry them beyond their utility, they become a burden, weighing us down. So the ultimate way to stop overthinking is to recognize when the raft of thought has served its purpose, and then gently, compassionately let it go. This final principle weaves together all the others. Understanding that thoughts are impermanent, practicing non-attachment to their outcomes, observing them non-judgmentally, extending compassion to our struggling minds, grounding ourselves in the present, and taking right action without striving for an impossible perfection. It's a continuous dance between engagement and release, thought and stillness. May you find increasing moments of quiet spaciousness in your mind, and a deep sense of peace that truly endures.